Let me get there. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Hope everybody's doing well. This is gonna be a great week of football. I can't wait to talk about all the games, but we're gonna do things a little bit differently this morning because you gotta stop the losing streak. Not great last week, and then lost Thursday night. So I'm scaling it back today. I have three bets. Try to get things back on track. I got a lot of games I like or have opinions on, but I wanted to narrow it down here, make sure I love my bets today. So I got three bets. I'm going to do those first, go through the rest of the games, then finish with the Ravens, Steelers, give you my thoughts on that, and then get out of here. So, first game I love today, my favorite game on the board would be Cincinnati +6. So we'll start there. The Bengals are at Buffalo, and I'm just really scratching my head here trying to figure out why the spreads, I thought it'd be 3.5 or 4. Thought Pittsburgh pretty much beat themselves last week. I feel like you can kind of throw that game out from the Bills' perspective because there was just, I don't know. Pittsburgh was so bad, and I don't know if the Bills' defense is going to be able to contain the Bengals' offense. So I struggle to see how Buffalo's defense is going to slow down Burrow. And then on the other side, I just think Buffalo misses a couple weapons here. I don't know if the Bengals are, the worst defense in the NFL anymore. I think they're playing with some confidence. Burrow's back. This game feels like it's coming down to the very end. The weather shouldn't be great, but I got the Bengals here +6, and I don't really see a situation where the game gets to be a blowout. The Bills' defense is going to feast on getting turnovers because they're going to have a hard time getting off the field without it. They're going to rely on the pass rush, get you in a third and long situation like they did against Pittsburgh. Just think the passing game today is going to be too quick, too efficient. I like Cincinnati a lot, +6. Excuse me. And then the second game I really like at 1 o'clock would be Seattle again. This one is, Seattle's at Atlanta. It's -6.5. The only way you would take the Falcons today, the only way you can really talk yourself into it is that the NFL is just weird and random things happen, and Seattle's got to go to the East Coast. But you've been following Seattle the past, year and a half under McDonald, they play well on the road. They play even better, much better on the road than they do at home. I just think Atlanta's season's over. I took Atlanta last week. The metrics look good for Atlanta. Of course, they found a way to lose the game to the Jets at the very end. They won last week. You could talk me into it because then they played the Bucs on Thursday night. Now I just feel like they're dead. They're 4-8. It's hard to get up for this game. Seattle's so dominant on defense. I don't know how this game doesn't look very similar to how it looked last week against Minnesota, where Seattle just dominated them. I'll take Seattle -6.5. It's probably the best bet for a teaser. If you think Atlanta can backdoor cover, Seattle's up 10, 12 points at the very end, and then Atlanta gets a touchdown, maybe. But I do love Seattle, and I love Cincinnati. Whew, I don't know voice here. And then the third game that I really like would be the over today in the Broncos and the Raiders. So that's over 40.5. The game's indoors, and the Raiders are either going to score on some big plays or give away 14 points the other way. Could do both. The Broncos might have a harder time getting up for this game as they basically have 4 playoff games after this. They play Packers, Jags, and then the Chiefs and the Chargers. So they're going to be really highly competitive games. They're battling for the 1 seed, trying to fend off the Chargers. They really want to win this game. I think the offense should come out pretty efficiently. I like what I see again against Washington last week. And then the defense, like I said, they might get a couple points themselves. And the Raiders are going to take some chances. They got nothing to lose. And you can't just set yourself up just running the ball against the Broncos. You got to come out, at least spread the field, try to exploit some quick passes against the Broncos. Because if you're in 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, you're going to have a really hard time against Denver. So 40.5 just seems like a small number. Those are my 3 bets. Let's go through the rest of the games. Then it is time for the Ravens. So why am I staying away from most of these games? Let's start with the Commanders and the Vikings. Daniels is coming back. So Jaden's going to play. Both teams had no chance to make the playoffs. This is such a dangerous game to bet on because I just have no idea where the Vikings are at, where Washington's at. I don't even know if McCarthy's playing. I don't really care if he was or wasn't. It's just an ultimate stay away game. Washington's favored by 1.5. I can't even really give an analysis on this game because both teams feel like this year completely blew up the worst it possibly could. From Washington's standpoint, they invested all this money in guys that are ready, to make a Super Bowl run this year. They thought they had reinforcements. Instead, they take 2 steps backwards. Quarterback doesn't look great. A lot of weird things happen to them, and now they have no chance to make the playoffs. And the Vikings, I don't know what they're going to do. Are they going to run it back next year, J.J. McCarthy, or not? So just an ultimate stay away game. The Dolphins Jets, that was more like if the Dolphins covered last week, maybe I emotionally would take the Dolphins. I would take the Dolphins today. They're -2.5 at the Jets. But after the way they blew the game against the Saints, I'm just like, I'm not putting money on the Dolphins anymore. Maybe they win this game. Maybe they make it interesting down the stretch and get themselves into playoffs. Or maybe Tua throws 4 interceptions and the Jets win this game. So anything could happen there. Speaking of anything can happen, Titans Browns. I know, just know. Both teams cost me last week, so this was the easiest stay away game. 33.5 is the total. That's 33.5 is. I think we've seen lower. I'm sure we have. I know we have, but 33.5 is pretty wild. So ugly game. Anything can happen. I would take the Titans, but I'm certainly not betting the Titans. That's for sure. And the Colts Jags was the toughest one for me to leave alone because I really, really like the Colts today, except I just don't know if Daniel Jones is healthy enough to get me those extra few yards. And that's what makes that offense dynamic. When he can't run, I think they're in big trouble. And then the Jags, they're just I just can't bet on the Jags. Can't bet on them, can't bet against them. This is a playoff game. I think the loser is going to be out. Even though the Jags have a soft schedule, they really should win this game. This should be this should be a game that the Jags win if they plan on making the playoffs, because the Texans are lurking and the Colts, they have a really tough schedule. If the Colts don't win this game, I don't know if they get in. I would bet against them because they're going to have to face Seattle the following week in Seattle. So this is just a must-win game for both teams. It's for the division lead. It should be a great game. I don't know exactly how much I'll see of it as the Ravens Steelers are playing at the same time. Oh, gosh. But I do think this is just going to be a fantastic game. I'd be surprised if it was a blowout. I'd be surprised if it was high scoring. I think it's going to be just a battle. But both these quarterbacks are so just no confidence there with Lawrence or with Daniel Jones with the injury. So we'll see what happens, but can't wait for that game. And then the Saints-Bucks is just too many points. It's a rivalry game. The Saints have nothing to play for, but the Bucks, they need a get-right game. The Panthers are lurking. They're going to play twice down the stretch, so that should be fun. But the Bucks, they should win. But when you talk about the NFL being upside down, this would be the game where it's like, man, did the Saints really win this game? Because the Saints defense is good, and it's a rivalry game. They'll be happy to play it. If anything, I'd take the Saints, but too many points, or just for the Bucks, and then from the Saints, I just don't want to bet the Saints today. So that's that. And then the other 2 4:00 games, staying away from, starting with the Rams and the Cardinals. I want to take the Cardinals here plus 9.5 points. It feels like maybe the right play, but then I just did not want to take bad teams today. So I look at the Cardinals at the end of the day, and I'm like, the Rams, obviously didn't look good against Panthers. They're going to be annoyed. They own Arizona. All the metrics would point to the Rams blowing them out. But I hate taking the Rams here because, it's a divisional game and they just came off a loss. So I ruled out the Rams, and then I want to take the Cardinals. But as I said now 27 times, I just do not want to take bad teams today. So I don't think the Bengals are a bad team. Certainly don't think the Seahawks are a bad team. And I think there's going to be points in the Broncos Raiders. So I'm just going to stick with those 3. I wouldn't lean Cardinals. But at the same time, the Cardinals are, if they get behind, it reminds you of the game where the Niners went in there and kicked their ass. So who knows what could happen in that game. I'll stay away from it. And then the best game at 4:00 in a day where there's great games is the Bears and the Packers. I lose on both these teams last week, definitely, and it feels like all season long with the Packers. So I will sit this one out, probably just, observe, see if I can figure out these teams here without having a bet on it this time. But I would lean towards this game being low scoring, based on the way the Bears played last week. Running the football seemed to be the answer. I don't know if you can do that against the Packers. That might have been more of a reflection on the Eagles, just not, maybe expecting it, or maybe the Eagles had a bad week. Maybe the Eagles are falling apart. So that's why the spread 6.5 feels like everybody that you can hear talk about this game would tell you to take the Bears because it's so many points. But I don't know. The Packers are great at home. I'll stay away from it. Woo, boy, running out of breath. All right, and let's see. Packers, Bears is the last 4 o'clock game. I told you I like Broncos Raiders to go over, and the Chiefs Texans tonight should be a great game. So I'll see what my bets are for that. It's definitely going to favor CJ Stroud and the Texans throwing the football because they're going to be aggressive tonight. The defense is going to be great. You can expect that, but the Chiefs, they're at home. They might get the whistle. I think if I'm the Texans offense tonight, I don't want to just come out here and run the football and see what happens. I want to be aggressive. They're going to throw the ball deep, challenge the Chiefs. I think Stroud's going to have a good game. I'll see exactly what my bets are. All right. All that, I think, between basketball practice and the Ravens Steelers here, I got to rip through these games because today's like the best day to be a Ravens fan because only good things can happen. I truly believe that they're playing home against Pittsburgh. So if they win this game, it almost erases everything. It puts you at first place, 7-6, 4 games left, win 2 out of 4. Realistically, you're going to win the division at this point, right? So win 3 out of 4, you're going to feel like we can win the Super Bowl. So it's a great day to be a Ravens fan. On the flip side, they lose this game, and it's going to be a great day to be a Ravens fan because if they lose this game, you're going to be able to know exactly what the problem is here with this team because everybody, and here's what I mean by this, every single person on this team, starting with the quarterback, Lamar, then going to Derrick Henry with his fumbles early in the season, Zay Flowers, well documented, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, the offensive line, if you want to name each guy, right? You can go through the list, and certainly the defense had its issues early in the season. So there's not one person to blame. Coaching staff, same thing, right? Harbaugh righted the ship. And then he obviously has his detractors. Zach Orr, everybody wanted him to be fired. Now the defense righted the ship, kind of a flip for Monken. So what I mean by this is after today's game, they win this game, everything's great. They lose. I really think if they lose today, who's responsible for this and why exactly we lost, it'll really give you a clear view of what needs to change because certain things are going to have to change if they can't make the run. But I'm not quite there. I feel like the way Pittsburgh, the more I keep thinking about this game, I can't believe that Pittsburgh's going to come out and just dink and dunk all the way down the field against us. So the question becomes, can they get the deep ball against us? Can Rodgers make a couple 20, 25-yard passes down the field to big-time receivers and tight ends? It's like, who are those big-time receivers and tight ends? Obviously they got a couple of guys, but overall, the Ravens secondary has been locking down big plays down the field. If the Steelers can't get a couple big pass interference calls or they don't get turnovers, it's like they need a lot to go right for them. Whereas the Ravens can just, I believe, dink and dunk their way down the field. If they have to settle for some field goals, that's fine. Maybe they'll get a big play or two, but if I'm the Ravens, I'm not searching for it. If I'm the Ravens, I'm playing conservative offense. If I'm the Steelers, I'm taking some chances. Ravens have way more room for error. They're a better built team. They feel like they've been knocking on this door now for 50 years, right? It hasn't been that long, but man, all the emotions leading into this game, everybody's been responsible, good and bad, for the 6-7 year run that they're on. So now's the time to turn up. We'll see. If you made me bet on this game, I can't get away from Lamar's got the ball at the end of the game, and he's got to go down the field and make something happen. So I think that's where we're headed. Or flip, Aaron's got it, and I think it's going to be a fourth quarter game. I think it'll be in that 23-20 range. That's what I would bet. So I do hope I'm wrong. Hope it looks more like a playoff game from last year. So we'll see. Good luck if you're betting. Good luck whatever you're betting. Oh, sorry, that was so long-winded. I felt like between screaming at the basketball the past few days here and being excited about today, my voice is a little not great. So hopefully my 3 bets win and whatever I said helps you. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. And yeah, have a good one.